How does As Good as Gold impact the life of the rescued dogs?
That's a difficult question because As Good as Gold impacts the lives of these dogs in so many different ways. Um, I always tell people who ask me what it's like to foster that I just try to be the kind of human that my dogs think I am. And I think that's what As Good as Gold does. We've made a pact through the ages with canines and humans together. And I don't know of any organization that lives up to the human side of that pact better than As Good as Gold.
As Good as Gold is really unique. It's an organization that uses no shelter facility at all. We use all foster homes. Each foster home is trained in positive reinforcement training so that everything is consistent. You see these dogs come in and they have medical issues and behavioral issues, which we are able to address before they're adopted out. In other words, we treat them like our own dogs, and that's very refreshing for me.
Basically, what anybody would say, that it saves a lot of dogs that would probably be put down. I mean, my first dog that I got, I had to go to the shelter by 10 o'clock or he was going to be put down. So,
What's your favorite dog that you encountered that was a rescue of As Good as Gold?
Well, I find it difficult to pick favorites. To date, I have had the privilege and the opportunity to foster 30 As Good as Gold dogs. They're all my favorites. But I have to remember my first As Good as Gold rescue because he was a very special part of my life and a very special dog. His name was Gibbs. He had a very difficult beginning in his life. He was kept in a crate underneath the basement stairway for hours on end. Turned out to be a seizure dog. And I was the third foster home for Gibbs within a period of, I think, a couple of weeks. And I saw slow improvement in his behavior and in his attitude. For the first couple of months, we didn't experience any seizures with Gibbs, and he made tremendous progress. I was so proud of him. He still had behavioral issues, but he had gone so far. And then one night after the picnic, he went into another seizure. And I took him to the animal emergency, and he went into cluster seizures, and we lost him. And I will never forget how hard Gibbs tried to fight through his problems. He was such a special dog.
Probably my favorite dog was Caesar. He was a big English cream who came to me at just the right time in my life. If you ever thought of the perfect golden, Caesar would have been it. He was laid back, he was gentle and sweet. I brought him to all the meet and greets. He was such a great ambassador for our rescue. And most of all, he helped me through a difficult time when my husband was sick. I was able to bring him into the nursing home and the rehab centers, and if I showed up without him, everybody asked me, where is he? But he was probably my favorite. He was my heart dog, definitely.
My favorite dog that we've encountered as a rescue would be Divot, because if I said anything else, I'd be in trouble. Other than Divot would probably be Drina, because she came from the puppy mill and went from 0 to 100 and was so shut down when she got here. The fact that she would come up to you and nudge you to be pet, she wouldn't have that life if we didn't give her that opportunity. Divot was a 3 strikes you're out policy. He was adopted from a pet store, well, bought from a pet store, brought to a shelter, And then the shelter adopted him out, and he was brought back. And then somebody else adopted him, named him Divot, kept him outside when he was 9 months old, and got new sod. And he was chained up, so he was bored, so he ripped up their sod. The wife didn't like him, so as the guy was bringing him back to the shelter, he knew that if Divot walked in those doors, he'd be put to sleep. So he called As Good as Gold, and our lives have never been the same.
How has As Good as Gold changed your family?
You know, I've always been a dog person. My first Golden I got in 1970, and I've had Goldens ever since. Unfortunately, back then, a lot of the training methods were very, very harsh, and I did not want to treat my dogs like that. I wanted to treat them as partners in this family. And when I was introduced to As Good as Gold, I saw that they used all positive reinforcement, something that I had been doing with my dogs all along. Probably the most satisfaction I get is, besides helping the dogs, but working with the people, the members, because we all have a similar philosophy. These people are wonderful. They're very empathetic. They want to do the right thing, and they have a venue now to do the right thing and send these dogs off happy and healthy, and to good homes that have been pre-screened. We know where they're going.
The rescue has helped the family. Myself, I've had 5. One from a breeder, and all the rest have come through a rescue or a shelter, and have enjoyed every one of them. Dylan's still with me. He's going to be 14 in September. That's about what the yeah, here he is. Huh, Dill?
If we didn't have As Good as Gold in our lives, we wouldn't have these wonderful dogs. I wouldn't have these beautiful relationships with all of this As Good as Gold family. I would have never met them all, and that's what has become. As Good as Gold has become a family to us. We wouldn't have all these relationships, the knowledge. I would have never met Robin Sweeney if there was no As Good as Gold. And we wouldn't have the opportunity to meet Emil and the people from Puerto Rico and see how all these wonderful dogs are doing and their lives have changed. All the foster dogs we have had their families have become part of our families. So now it's a huge family.
Why do you do what you do? Why do you stay involved? What's the reward for you personally?
First got involved at Last Fling, and seen As Good as Gold was there, and got involved with that. Became a member, and the satisfaction of not only saving the dog and the dog going to a better home, but the feeling that you get from some of the people who adopt a dog, the friendship that I've made through the years, still to this day, met people that adopted a dog and were still a friend. So that's probably the main thing about why I'm still involved in what I have done.